Well, hello, this is Anthony Wilson, and I have had several people inquiring about my chuck box design. So I thought rather than draw it, list it, describe it, I would just take videos of it. This chuck box I built in 2001, I believe, maybe 2002. Right now we're in 2018. It's June of 2018. I've been using this chuck box for 17 years. It is incredible. I built this when I was a scoutmaster in Lubbock, Texas, and now this is my personal one that I built as a prototype. Our scout troop wound up building 4 of them. We built one for a school program that did camping stuff. Built one for one of the dads that wanted one, whatever. But I'm going to show you this chuck box and my setup. I got tired of lugging the big wooden boxes and having to rebuild things. So it started with the that's upside down, but it's the Contico Tough Box. I got it at Lowe's Home Improvement, about $55. Now that was years ago, but I think they're still about in that same price range. I've laid it on its side, you can see that. So very important, I carry it this way. I never turn it back like the box normally goes in a truck bed. Carry it like this. So I had to install these wooden blocks. Basically a 4x4 would work. These are about 4x6, but 4x4s will work on the bottom of that. You screw down with some washers through the chuck box into these blocks. And that way the box can sit flat on the bottom and even. The new boxes have a push button lock right here. It comes with a key and a push button mechanism. That's really kind of cool. Mine has a hasp. So let's get it open. Contents may have shifted during travel. Alright, there we go. So that's what the inside of the chuck box looks like. Let's start with modifications to the box itself. Again, the new boxes have that push button lock up here that activates a whole little lever arm mechanism. You have to be really careful that you don't put too much product or stock right under that latch, or it won't open all the way. If that were to happen to you, just pull out the hinge down here that goes all the way across, the little pin that goes through the hinge, and then you could get the box open. Okay, so this thing has stuff stuck everywhere. I'm going to start with the modifications to the box. First thing you'll need to do is put chains on. So I put a little eye bolt down here, a little eye bolt over here, and then just rigged up some swing set chain. Basically, it doesn't have to be real strong, but it needs to be strong enough to hold the lid, especially when you're setting, you know, the Dutch oven or the pots and pans and stuff on the lid. Then I found this large cutting board. It seems like I bought that at an academy. Again, that was years ago. I had to come into these ridges in the box and level them. The center ridge stuck up a ½ inch higher than all the rest, so I had to hit that with a hand grinder. There's several ways you could do that, but I hit that one with a hand grinder. Then I just drilled some holes and I fixed this with little pieces of chain here so that it stays put. It has been cut on, not so much by me. I keep a cutting board in the chuck box for my cutting so I can clean it efficiently. Some of my scouts along the way and other guests that I've camped with have cut directly on the board, and that's not really what I put it there for. I just put it there to be flat. Okay, next modification. The wooden little plywood frame that's inside here. This is through bolted through the side of the chuck box to the handles. So the handles go through that plywood. Basically, if I were to spill, I don't, but if I were to spill syrup or dish soap or some of those nasty things that get all inside the chuck box, then all I would have to do is take out these 8 screws on this side, the 8 screws on the other side's handles, right over here, and then that entire wooden unit would slide right out of there. I can take it down to the car wash and hose it out. The drawers, the drawer units right here, are screwed down to the plywood, these two right here. Now these buckets are not, they pull out, okay? But this drawer set and this single drawer are screwed down. Now there's nooks and crannies everywhere, so I'm just gonna go, I guess, left to right. Got a toaster, believe it or not, those actually work. Then in this drawer, I keep the all-important toilet paper. I've got my pot and pan handle. I've got extra attachments for my water bottles because those always break. I've got some extra chain, flagging tape, tent stakes, clothespins, scrub pads, those kinds of things in that drawer. Next drawer down, keep the sharp knives, maybe some popcorn and a deck of cards. Next drawer down. Being 17 years old, some of the drawers are starting to not want to cooperate, but they still work. Got some silverware, and then I even keep the O-rings for my hibachi stove and my propane stove, so that if I'm out camping and the O-rings go bad, I've got them. Okay, now I'm gonna pause. Let's see, I'm gonna take out my sinks. This is really everything in the kitchen sink. I'll show you how those work in just a minute. Okay, continuing left to right. Lea & Perrins, gotta have. I know, don't gripe at me. I just keep instant coffee in here. I do not put coffee in my water pot. I put water in the water pot. I heat up hot water. It may be for making instant coffee. It may be for making hot cocoa for the kids. It may be for cleaning the dishes. But I just use this pot for water. Do what you want with it. Gotta have one, but do what you want. Got the cutting board. Got a 2-quart pitcher for the bug juice. Got my dish soap, my vegetable oil, little orange cleaner. I really like keeping this type of drink mix. That one's empty. I keep these rather than Kool-Aid or something because it weighs a lot less. This one little tub will do 2 quarts. That right there is a breakfast drink. Orange Classic for the morning. They make that in all different kinds of flavors, Crystal Light or your store brand. I've got more. There's some lemonade if we want lemonade. Let's see. There's some more instant coffee. I do camp with a lot of coffee drinkers. Let's see what else is back there. Ah, yes. Got a set of cups back there if we need it. I think that's all that's actually back there. So all of this material was back in alongside the shelf and behind it right there. Okay, I'll put all that back here in a little bit, I suppose. Do have a scrub brush. I have my paper towel attachment. You would run this rod through the paper towels, and then you simply hook the carabiners to the chuck box handles, and that holds your paper towel. I added the little bungee cord to keep the paper towels from blowing in the West Texas wind. That's pretty simple. Okay, then we got some pots and pans. Let's take a look. Just a set of camping cookware. Several good-sized pans. You might want to make beans, pancakes, whatever you got going. There's some metal plates down in there and a skillet on bottom. Also carry an entirely different box that has my Dutch oven and my skillet, my griddle, all that kind of stuff rides in a separate box. Over here I've got just a lantern hook to hang in a tree. Hang my lantern up. Okay, I'm going up to the top shelf. Keep a bucket of spatulas, tongs, serving spoons, lighter. That's a grill lighter, you know. Hot cocoa down in there, that kind of stuff. Got a spice bin. The spice bin has salt, pepper, lemon pepper, cinnamon, garlic salt, Adam's steak seasoning, yum yum. I do have coffee creamer for those who need it. I got some hand sanitizer down in there, some other things. This bucket contains placeware settings for, well, placeware, plates, cups, and bowls. I think mine will feed 12 people easily, and then the ones that I've built for other people will feed 16. Put a little bit more stuff in there. Set that up out of the way for a moment. Back in behind I need to get to this drawer. Let's do this drawer. This drawer has more serving spoons. It's got the percolator for the coffee, measuring cups, that kind of stuff. Oh, I'll throw in a free tip. If your baked potatoes aren't getting done all the way through in the campfire, try driving an aluminum gutter nail. These are from the hardware store, aluminum gutter nail. It is made of aluminum. All the way through the potato lengthwise. Then wrap that potato in foil and then throw it down in the fire, and that nail will conduct heat to the middle of the potato and really help it to cook evenly. I do have a package of shish kebab skewers. I keep a little bit of old paper towel, or there's a little bit of cardboard there from some sort of package that I'll use to start fires if I need it. Keep my leather work gloves. There's a second pair back in behind those, right on top. Then of course you can't have a camp out without s'mores and marshmallows and all that. So I keep 8 of those hot dog marshmallow rods back in there. I've got another type of lantern hook. In the back row, I keep my Ziploc bags, my trash bags, my foil, all that kind of stuff in the back. Okay. Now I need to show you how the sink hooks up. Leave all that there for a minute, I guess. I've got to let me put this other one back in. If I get too top heavy, things can fall over, go boom. Set too much weight on the door itself while it's open, it can fall over. One remedy for that, if you're camping with kids that are going to set the Dutch oven on there or something, like our scouts always did, we'd take a cargo strap and hook to this handle, run underneath the table and hook to the handle on the other side, and that'll secure the box to the table better. Notice that the box is on the end of the table, directly above the legs. The weight of the box is right over the leg. Okay, if you were to set that big old heavy box in the middle of this table, it'd break that hinge in half. So anyway, got to show you the sink. Just took a piece of, I think that's 1/2 inch conduit. I put some conduit clamps on the back side of the chuck box. I put a set on each side so that I can just plug this in. I call this the plug and play model. This is not how I originally had mine set up, but when I built one for one of the scout dads, I chose to do that for his, make it a lot simpler, quicker setup than mine ever had. Then I put some small eye bolts with chain hanging from it. I just leave that chain on there. It's crimped shut at the top, and the bottom hook is open. My setup uses 4 of these chains. I'll show you why in just a second. This is for the kitchen sink. So I found online, and I cannot remember where I got them, but I found these buckets. Seattle Sports, I guess. Collapsible backpacking buckets is what they really are, but they are some sort of PVC vinyl or something so that they collapse. I rigged a soap bucket. I label that soap. That is the only bucket you're allowed to put soap in. Don't you put soap in my rinse bucket. That made me mad. Known as rinse bucket. And then I have a third one for sanitizing rinse. If you get those little sanitizing rinse tablets, you can drop them down in this third bucket. We used to use metal pans for this. In the interest of weight, we got rid of the metal pans and shifted to a Tupperware container, like that I've got in chuck box here. One of these plastic containers, Rubbermaid, Sterilite, Tupperware, whatever. And those work. They just get brittle over time and crack. When you go fill in these collapsible buckets with water, they're going to collapse. So you take this chain and run it through the handles. Mosquitoes are not letting me film very steady. I apologize for that. And then I come back up and hook it wherever it needs to go, just to keep the bucket supported. Just about like that. And so I've got enough chains to hook each handle set. This chain would hook those 2 handles, and then this last chain would hook to this last handle. This is a great dishwashing station. I've got the hot water soap. I fill about 1.5 inches of cold water in each of these 2, and then I add about 2/3 of that coffee pot of hot boiling water to it when I'm ready to do dishes, and stir it around with a scrub brush. It goes nice and well. I can hang that scrub brush from up here too. I've got a little clip that I can hang it with, and that lets it drip into that soap bucket. Sanitizing, rinse, and you're done. Got the water jug on the end. Make sure that's on the downhill side. The water jug position dictates where everything else on the table goes. Hibachi goes on the end. Stove goes there. You got to make sure the stove and hibachi don't touch the collapsible buckets or the water jug. That could be bad. And then we found out the hard way that you don't want your propane hose. I don't use the little propane bottles. I use propane hoses routed over to the big tank with a 2-piece stem. The stem comes in half at the middle, so that propane stem will actually fit in the chuck box. I keep it in a different wooden box with the Dutch oven, the griddle, all that stuff. So you can put a lantern right on top, move it around as you're cooking so that it illuminates the chuck box or it illuminates the cooking area or the dish area. It's pretty handy. But we did find out the hard way that you don't want the hose to lay against the back of the stove or it will catch fire and spray you fire everywhere. So I drilled holes in the table right there, about 1.25 inches, big enough that I can run the hose from the appliance right down through that hole and then route it over to the tank. I can fit 3 coolers underneath the table. So I usually have 1 or 2 wet coolers, that'd be ice down coolers, or keeping things cold, and then I'll have a dry cooler that I'll have the bread and the chips, the bananas, all that junk in. I can fit 3 coolers underneath the table, and then my wooden Dutch oven box goes right here under the front of the table, accessible when I'm working at the chuck box. So that's basically it. The box is light enough that I can pick it up by myself to go from its storage location in the garage into the truck bed. I would not try to carry it by myself to the campsite or, you know, through the weeds or whatever. But so it takes 2 people for that. It is important to note that the weight is mostly on this handle closest to the door. So I do not put equal force on these 2 handles. This is my carrying handle and this is my balance handle. This just helps me keep it from tipping forward or back. Sometimes people pick it up too heftily when they're helping me carry it and they wind up nearly tipping the thing over. Blocks of wood on the bottom again, bring it up to where that lid is not quite touching the table. Otherwise you'd have to scoot it so far forward on the table that the lid will hang free, and that puts it out of balance where it can tip over. So I hope that helps you as you look at building your own chuck box. Again, I've been using it for 17 years and it has been amazing. Everybody has loved it. So more power to you. Alrighty.